set aside the economy, worries about crime, which are at the top of all of voter polls about what they're worried about, and instead vote for you or the world is ending?
Nobody's saying the world is ended.
You did say there, though, it could be the end of the world.
No, democracy will be ended. The world will continue to exist. The world was here before Hitler. The world was here after Hitler. That's what we're saying. No, the world will not end. The kind of world we have, the kind of country we have, we've got to decide how do we want to exist in this world. And
in order to re-elect George W. Bush, Stacey Abrams for 2 years, claiming that she lost her election because of voter suppression, not a problem. Jimmy Carter, former president of the United States, saying, I believe the Russians put Donald Trump in there. No evidence of that. But these people are not called election deniers. But Kari Lake brings up some legitimate issues, such as the quashing of the Hunter Biden story, such as the $419.5 million spent by Mark Zuckerberg to get out Democrat turnout, this 2.5-year Russian collusion investigation, shenanigans in Pennsylvania, the dissent that was filed by a member of the Court of Appeals in Michigan in Donald Trump's lawsuit, claiming that the Secretary of State used COVID as an excuse to send mail-in ballot applications to every single registered voter, whether they requested one or not. He thought that was wrong. What about the dissent filed by the Supreme Court Justice of the Wisconsin Supreme Court, saying all these drop boxes placed all over the state were invalid, shouldn't have done, and going forward, the Supreme Court has ruled they're not going to be used in the future? And Pennsylvania, you've got people like Alan Dershowitz, a left-wing lawyer who voted twice for Obama, and Jonathan Turley, left-wing lawyer, voted twice for Obama. Both of them thought that the way COVID was used to change voting procedures in Pennsylvania were troublesome, and Dershowitz predicted that the Supreme Court would take up the case and that Donald Trump would win it. He was wrong on both counts. But when people like Kari Lake and Waugh bring up these kinds of things, we are election deniers, and that warrants this former cop referring to Kari Lake as a piece of blank on MSNBC, only to have his remark enjoyed, chuckled at, laughed at by this anchor. Now, did this California House member really say we need to ensure that Twitter isn't run by its owner? Stick a pin right there. We'll get back to that. But first, what's this? The great Aldersky has a pair?
To co-opt religions, and that is what's going on here. And people want to deny it, that's fine. But the facts are very clear. I've studied history all of my life.
I
taught history. And I'm telling you, what I see here are parallels to what the history was in this world back in the 1930s, in Germany, in Italy.
Are voters, though, out there listening to this message to infer from what you're saying that if they don't vote for Democrats in this election, that they are somehow supporting something akin to the rise of Hitler?
No, if they don't vote against election deniers, if they don't vote against liars, people who lie, know full well they're lying, we all know they're lying. This was the cleanest election in the history of the country. Donald Trump's own appointee said it was the cleanest in the history of the country. So if they're lying, they're denying, they're trying to delete, they're trying to nullify votes, vote against that foolishness.
So Congressman, to look back on some of those conversations about election deniers, we've talked about on this show that Democrats have spent more than $40 million making sure that some of those people got through GOP primaries so that they could then face off in the general election. Do Democrats bear some responsibility for putting those people now on the ballot?
No, we didn't put them up.
But you spent millions to get them there.
I'm sorry?
But you spent millions to get many of them there, where they are now on the general election ballot.
Well, I have read about that. I believe that you should always try to best position yourself to win in the general election. I'm not a proponent of that process.
office and overturn common sense COVID safety measures for healthcare workers and school staff. Your vote could be the difference between protecting our kids and putting them at risk.
Now, did you notice something that was in that ad? Did you notice something? Watch this excerpt.
Now Republicans are trying to recall him from office and overturn common sense COVID.
Oh, is that President you-know-who standing next to Larry Elder? Is he making Donald Trump the face of the party? Was Donald Trump running in the recall election? Was Donald Trump on the ballot? But virtually every single ad attacking the recall effort showed moi standing next to a picture of Donald Trump with both our thumbs up. They played it so often, I could probably count the number of ridges on my thumb. Was that a problem? Did the CBS anchor say, why personalize this? Why did you talk about the issues? Why involve Donald Trump? Of course you didn't. Now, attention CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, MSNBC Hee-Haw, and the LA Times. The girlfriend of the man who broke into the Pelosi's house said, and I'm quoting her, "I don't think he became a Trump supporter." She said he was mentally ill, but he was against the government. If anything, he was opposed to the shadow government, against the people who really run the government and use politicians as puppets, like Trump was a puppet. David and I were against shadow government. Close quote.
There's something else on the ballot. Characters on the ballot. Reason and basic decency are on the ballot. Democracy itself is on the ballot. The stakes are high. 2024, most importantly, we are going to take back our magnificent, oh, it's so beautiful, White House. We're going to take it back, and you're going to be hearing about it very soon.
Immigration, Biden and Harris are an issue also. They don't consume a room. They don't have standing when they walk in the room. Some people do. Obama does. Biden and Harris don't.
No, in fairness, nobody has standing when their approval ratings are in the low 40s. It's amazing how much your standing gets better when you're in the 50%. In fairness, Joe Biden was a 1% candidate.
Well,
he had no standing in 08.
The issue's
going to be, right? In fairness.
Yeah, the issue is going to be with Trump going to Ohio and Florida, which is a whole nother issue.
Well,
Biden going. Are they going to turn off?
Well, I was just going to say, let me bring up, this was Donald Trump last night. He is clearly focused on an election.
Wait,
not this one.
Focused on himself?
Yeah, I know. And he ain't focused on this election. Here he is rattling off poll numbers to his rally goers the other night. Listen to this from last night.
There it is, Trump at 71, Ron DeSanctimonious at 10%, Mike Pence at 7%. Oh, Mike's doing better than I thought. Liz Cheney, there's no way she's at 4%. There's no way. There's no way. But we're at 71 to 10 to 7 to 4.
Ron DeSanctimonious. Okay, this idea.
You're going to have to serve somebody. Maybe the devil, maybe the Lord, but you're going to have to serve somebody. And these influencers are not artists either, and would have no explanation for becoming an influencer other than fame or fortune. It's like being famous just for being famous. I think Ye laments the fact that his ex-wife is being puppeteered by people that have been created in a test tube. They have Kim's ear and put fear into her mind. They probably told her to distance herself from Ye, especially politically. Apparently, this same type of influence prevented Ye's dad from seeing him as a kid, due to the way people were bending his mother's ear. So Ye has this 30,000-foot view, and few people have that clairvoyance. Did you see the musings of a lunatic in that interview? I didn't. But because his opinions are so anti-establishment, just like Trump's, he catches all kinds of flack for it. You are penalized for challenging systems. So when you think about systemic things, like this notion of systemic racism, no one talks about the systemic thought process and mind control. It's systemic if it's ingrained in multiple established systems that reinforce one another. And this leads me to other systems Ye is challenging. Recently, he took to Twitter and Instagram to express his thoughts on the Jewish establishment that controls the entertainment, media, and music industry. This is a well-known fact, but because of the way Ye said it, it got him suspended. So let's look at the tweets. He said, "I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. Funny thing is that I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are Jew also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who opposes your agenda." And he received a lot of backlash as this being anti-Semitic, which is also like the R word, racist. It's one of those unspeakable, abhorrent things a person cannot do. This tweet was removed by Twitter, and Ye was temporarily blocked from posting content due to some vague violation of policy. This happened on Instagram as well. Ye had a long, uncut conversation on a podcast called Drink Champs, which has this disclaimer at the beginning that it's a platform for creatives to express themselves without restriction or censorship, and that all views are solely those of the individual. I point this out because that is what Twitter and social media are supposed to be about. Your view and only your view, uncensored. First and foremost, Ye spoke more candidly about the infamous tweet.
You know, actually, when it's DEFCON, it's like nuclear war. I spelled it wrong. I have a tendency to do that. But DEFCON is actually that you're preparing to protect yourself. Because that's what I did. Because once they cancel 4 SoFi stadiums because of what's classified as wrong think, because you have groupthink, it is very important to have the black vote be in groupthink and to not separate from the thought and being completely in line with the agenda of the left, the Jewish media, and the Chinese.
A lot of Chinese things got something to do with it?
They got something to do with everything.
So right away, we see the clarification. Ye was not inciting threats or violence against Jewish people. He was preparing himself like the military term implies. DEFCON is defense condition or readiness, with a level of 3 being heightened. So Ye sees himself as being a pioneer or a Paul Revere in information, which he considers the most powerful resource in the world, even more than food and water. Because if you have the information, you can find out where to get the food and water. But listen to this analogy he makes about being that Paul Revere style messenger.
They want to call me crazy. It's like running a marathon. If I got some shorts on and a tank top and I'm sweating hard as hell, running down a street, running the wrong way down a freeway, then you're going to say that person is crazy. But if 100 other people do it with me, then it's a marathon.
That's a good way to put it. Killed that. Yeah.
Hello everybody. I want to take you back in time into the 60s. Okay? The anti-war movement, all that. There's a lot going on behind the scenes you ain't seen, maybe. Some of you might have, like the Black Panthers. It was not the Holy Bible they were holding up. It was Mao Zedong. So, influencing of fascist influencing of people. And right now, there is a slew of Democrats that have been receiving dark money contributions to their campaigns. Now, that is what is called dark money. And, well, we do need to remove that dark money from campaigns. A lobbyist gave them this money, and they are connected to the Chinese government. Look it up, it's there. including Stacey Abrams, by the way.